Hello again, everyone, and welcome to The Crusher. As always, my favorite, I shouldn't even call her a guest, I should call her a co-host, is Susan Olsen. Susan, it is so great to have you back on The Crusher today.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be back.
All right.
Anything for you, Jeff.
Well, listen, Susan, you and I always have a good time. So let's start with, you know what? Let's start with the Trump trial, and then I want to get into a border story. But Susan, when I look at us in our advanced age here, and I hate to admit how much older I'm getting, you know, I'm wondering whether people, if most of the country is even old enough to know what a kangaroo court or a show trial is. Because I look at this Trump trial and I'm like, this is like the Soviet Union. Name the guy and then go find the crime. They dig up this misdemeanor that is evidently way beyond the statute of limitations. I don't even know if Trump knows what he's charged with. I know that I think the jury's coming back guilty no matter what the hell they do. But we can talk about this. What is your take on the Trump trial as it heads into its delayed closing arguments and deliberations?
Well, I do know about the Soviet Union. I do know about gulags. I do know about kangaroo courts. And it would seem to me that our youth are not being taught any of this. And they're being taught to be obedient drones for whatever the agenda is, which I claim is Islamism. But that aside, uh, see, to me, this is part of why I didn't buy the scamdemic. There's too many. There's too many things that don't match up. There's too many contradictions, and it just smells of a fake trial. I mean, to me, it's so obvious that this is very third world country tactics to try to prevent one's opponent from running. I mean, people stand on their soapbox and say that's terrible when that happens in other countries, and they don't even see it when it's happening here. I've been in arguments with people about the lack of justice in that you can have riots with Antifa during the summer of 2020 or 2021, but you go into the Capitol and take a selfie and you're going to prison without due process. And nobody believes that because they all believe that the system is working just fine and everybody is getting a fair shake. And I don't know how you could possibly think that. And the only good side to having this border crisis is that one can say, okay, look at that. Does that make sense to you? How is that sustainable? So, I mean, nobody, I watch Alan Dershowitz kind of faithfully, and I don't always agree with him, but he is very fair and succinct about the law. And boy, if I was on trial, I'd want him defending me because he's not emotional about it. It's like this is the
No,
law, and
he
everybody gets a fair
he
face
yeah, he
trial.
was just here, and we should have gone. He was just here. He tries not to let politics impact his legal analysis. Um,
Yeah,
but you know what, Susan? Here's the thing. You talk about the summer of 2020, where all of a sudden they're holding riots and COVID disappears magically, and then when the riots are over, COVID comes back, and all this business. And when it really goes to show you when the left has the media and Hollywood, as you know, and these other institutions on their side, like the Soviets had Pravda. I never thought we'd come to this. I mean, I really always thought we would be like a Tip O'Neill, Ronald Reagan America, where we were all here for the good of America. One wanted a bigger government, one wanted a smaller government. But now you have this authoritarianism creeping in, and it's crazy on a lot of levels. So let me just ask you this before we move off of Trump. What's going to happen? I think that they're just going to convict him. It's 87% of New York voted against Trump. I think this is, there's no way the prosecution loses. They embarrass him. Maybe they get a conviction. I think the whole thing is bullshit, but I don't think there's a lose. There's no way they lose, no matter how bad Michael Cohen looks, no matter how much this stinks, no matter how much everybody knows this is bullshit. I don't think they lose, Susan. And I think he'll be convicted.
Well, unfortunately, I agree with you, but it's like, okay, well, it's proving my point. What country do we live in now? Because it's so obvious, and there are people who know that's complete BS. I mean, Alan Dershowitz can't tell you what he's charged with because there aren't any charges, at least in this case, that apply. They
Yeah.
don't apply at all. And if everybody were treated the same way Trump is, we wouldn't have a single politician, which really would be a good thing.
Yeah, it would be a
But
good thing.
I mean,
No,
it's like, and Biden has been a criminal, but they're not going to put him on trial because, well, he's old and he can't withstand a
right.
trial.
Yeah, he can't
Then
withstand a
what?
trial, but he's healthy enough to run the country. This is all nonsense. I mean, it's since the last time we
Yeah,
spoke, I read Peter Schweizer's books about China, and that spy balloon flying over this country and him doing nothing about it. Susan, I think they own him. I think that the Chinese own
I
Joe Biden. And
absolutely
and by the way, I'm going to say something. You know who is incorruptible, which is why they hate him so much. I hate to say it to folks. Donald Trump is incorruptible. Donald Trump was
That's right.
serious. He was serious about China. Okay. And he's not beholden to them. There's Republicans who are beholden to China. There's Democrats who are beholden to China. Trump was serious about China. But we live in this bizarro world where, the left always, in the Saul Alinsky style, they always blame the other side for the exact things that they're doing. And then when you have
Yeah.
when the media goes along and say, "Oh, it's good that he's on trial," and you know, and everybody at Fox is a nut, but all the other media is okay. This is bizarro world. I think people smell something is
Yeah.
wrong, but I don't think I think this trial is a no lose. I think on appeal it will be reversed, but I think Trump has
No,
ball.
absolutely.
I think Trump has.
Absolutely.
I think he has balls of steel, Susan. I think Trump has balls of steel.
He has to. He has to. The fact that, I mean, he's the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps going and going, and nothing phases him. And he keeps getting more popular. We know New York is against him, but look at the Bronx. Look what happened there. Look at how many people turned out, how many people of color who don't believe that Trump is a bigot. Um, and I'm learning more and more. It doesn't make it any better, but the people who have Trump derangement syndrome, they believe what the media is telling them, and the media is outright lying. This is brown shirt propaganda, like they had, you know, in Germany in the 1930s.
Yeah.
It's government controlled. People should be able to smell that. I think a lot of people are, but I don't think any of the jurors is brave enough to not convict him.
We'll see. It'll be interesting, and we'll see what's coming down the pipeline. I think the whole thing is a farce. All right, now speaking of farce,
Absolutely.
and by the way, if you're watching this, stay tuned next week. On Monday, I'm going to interview J.J. Carroll, who's a former Border Patrol agent who wrote the book Invaded. This is a man who laid his neck on the line, literally, as a Border Patrol agent. The border's far worse than you think it is. Now we're going to go over to Denver, Colorado, where I don't know, that city's going to cave to all this too. But Susan, I have a list of everybody has demands now. The people who take over our universities and scream the anti-Semitism, they have demands. They have to. Okay, the migrants. I'm sorry, did I say migrants? I meant illegals in Denver.
Yes.
Let's stop with the word migrants.
It's criminal
Yeah.
aliens.
Okay, in Denver, Colorado, they got a list of demands here, Susan. Like they have any business making demands. How about we just demand you fucking leave? You're
Yeah.
here illegally.
Yeah.
Okay, here are their demands. These are the illegals in Denver. These are and Denver will cave. All right. Here it is, 13 demands. Migrants will cook their own food with fresh, culturally appropriate ingredients provided by the city,
Well,
aka the taxpayers, instead of pre-made meals. Rice, chicken, flour, oil, butter, tomatoes, onions. Also, people will not be punished for bringing in and eating outside food. Number two, shower access will be available without time limits and can be accessed whenever. We are not in the military. We are civilians. Well, I know you're not in the military because we treat our military like shit. If we treated you the way we treated our military, you would go home. Okay. Number three, medical professional visits will happen regularly, and referrals, connections for specialty care will be made as needed. Let's stop right there. That's 3 of the 13. Any thoughts, Susan? The taxpayers
well,
pay for the medical care. I don't why I have no fucking idea.
we have spent all our money. Um, well, we have had all of our money stolen from us. It's currently being laundered at the great big elite financial laundromat, otherwise known as Ukraine. And we don't have the money to do this. We don't have the money for our own people. You know,
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson made an analogy one time that I've always made, but he did it much more eloquently. And it's like being a child at Christmas time, and your parents have decided to give you nothing. And you've been good all year. They're giving you nothing, but they're giving all the toys you wanted to the neighbor up the street because it's going to make them look good. Because maybe he's, a migrant or
Yep.
whatever the left are applauding these days.
But wait, Susan, there's more demands. All will receive the same housing support that has been offered to others. They cannot kick people out in 30 days without something stable established. 5, there needs to be a clear, just process before exiting someone for any reason, including verbal, written, and final warnings. Obviously, they're talking about whatever they're being sheltered. God knows why they're being sheltered, but all right. All shelter residents will receive connection to employment support, including work permit applications for those who qualify. Number 7, consultations for listen to this one. Consultations for each person or family with a free immigration lawyer must be arranged to discuss and progress their cases, and then the city, aka the taxpayers, will provide ongoing legal support in the form of immigration document clinics and including transportation to relevant court dates.
And
Lawyers are free, right? They're free now, right?
well, I'd love to say once all of these demands are met for the American citizens who are paying for them through tax
Oh,
dollars,
why would we do
we
that?
might we might consider this. But we've never done this. We've never housed illegals. America was. It's true that it was built by immigrants, but people don't realize a lot of people went home because they couldn't cut it in a free
Yeah,
society.
yeah. And by
I
the
mean,
way, no, let me jump in on the fantasy that the nation was not only look, immigrants contributed, but listen, there's a lot of native-born Americans like who had to establish this. But even so, there was an age of immigration up through about 1965 or so. You had to prove you were not going to be a burden. You had to have a family here that was going to sponsor you. You had to jump through hoops. You had to do the things that every other country that you apply to right now will ask you to do. Call New Zealand, tell them you want to emigrate, and take a look at what they ask of you.
I
Go try,
know it firsthand.
go try to work in Canada. Go try working. You're going to flee to Canada? Go try working in Canada. They have standards we don't. But wait, there's more. The city will provide privacy for families, individuals within the shelter. 9, no more verbal or physical or mental abuse will be permitted from the staff, including no sheriff sleeping inside and monitoring 24/7. We are not criminals and won't be treated as such. Number 10, transportation for all children to and from their schools will be provided until they finish in 3 weeks. Whose schools? Whose schools are these?
Exactly. Exactly. And um some of these demands, I think I know where they're coming
They're
from a
coming from
certain
American attorneys,
ideology.
and they're coming from American attorneys too.
Yes, yes, who are bending over backwards. This is nothing but a recipe to destroy the country. I
Yeah,
mean, we know that. We know the
that's
Clarendon
correct.
Piven
That's correct.
strategy. We know what Ted Kennedy did with
Hmm.
immigration by not allowing people from Europe and only allowing people from third world
Yep.
countries. Um, my friend, my former roommate, tried to get here from Canada because she has a daughter with severe handicaps and she could get much better treatment here in America. Well, the hoops they had to
Yeah.
jump through were ridiculous and they were finally denied. And the person speaking to them said, you know, if you were from a third world country, I'd have no
Yep.
problem. You wouldn't even
Absolutely.
have to meet any of these requirements.
Well,
So what? I'm sorry, that's not being kind-hearted. That's
no, and by the way, this touches on something. Um, People talk about the terrorist threat, and I agree 100,000%. There's terrorists coming over our border. If you were Hezbollah, what would you do? Of course, you would send them in. Now, let me say this, though. I always say, and since we're both Californians, you'll know what I'm saying. If you don't live in California and you're watching this, I want you to remember what I said. Emergency rooms, schools, okay? All the little basic services of life. Living in a neighborhood that doesn't have 9 or 10 illegals in every garage, okay? These are the little things. These are the quality of life things. But wait, there's more. Number 11, no separating families, regardless of if family members have children or not. The camp will stay together. 12, the city must schedule a meeting with the mayor and those directly involved in running the newcomer program as soon as possible to discuss further improvements and ways to support migrants, otherwise known as illegals. Number 13, the final demand for now, the city must provide all residents with a document signed by a city official in English and Spanish with all of these demands that includes a number to call to report mistreatment.
And they say replacement is a theory. But that's only if you watch mainstream media. Otherwise, if you do a little research, then you know that they have declared that the replacement theory is real. This is what they intend to do.
Yeah.
And so if you're a law-abiding citizen of this country, to hell with you.
Hey, look, if listen, anybody wants to suggest that this is just, white people concerned with this, go look at what's happening in Chicago. They all voted for the African American mayor, as I hate to say it, as usual. Okay, they all vote. Now go to Chicago and talk to black folks in Chicago, and you will find out that this concern about the influx of illegals is not just a concern of the evil white man. And by the way, go talk to some Mexican Americans who've
Oh,
been in this country for a few generations. If you think that they think that this is okay, you don't know any Mexican Americans. That's all. I don't know how else to put it.
they did it the right way. They did it
That's
the
just insane.
long and hard
So,
way.
so Denver will cave. I guarantee you. I guarantee you, Denver will cave. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
I mean, what I don't understand though, um, why aren't Americans at the border protesting?
Well, okay, I have a theory about that, Susan, and I think we
They
discussed
don't want
this.
to lose their
No,
jobs.
look, no. Proximity to the border is everything here. And I've told you, I'm from Buffalo, New York, which is on the border. You look across the Niagara River, right? The one that falls, like Niagara Falls. All right. You look across the river. Thank you, Kitty. You look across the you look across the river in Buffalo to Fort Erie, Ontario, and you will see that it's a very calm border. And when I talk to people who live in places like Buffalo and I don't know, anywhere else that's 1,000, 2,000 miles from here, they like, yeah, it's kind of an abstraction to them. What's happening at the border, it's kind of an abstraction. You know what I mean? It's like it's not real. And I'm like, send 1,000 send 1,000 illegals to Amherst, New York, Shaker Heights, Ohio, Northbrook, Illinois, Hilton Head, South Carolina, Tyson Corner, Virginia, and we'll see. We'll see. Chicago and New York are big, crazy cities. You understand what I'm saying? So when they get sent hundreds of thousands of people, that's one thing. But boy, you drop them off in Northbrook, Illinois, Highland Park, Illinois, oy vey, will you have a problem on your hands. And until you put it right in front of the American people's face, Susan, the border is this far off thing. Live in Southern California, you feel differently. Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, you feel differently. It's proximity, in my view.
Okay, I wasn't really aware that that was still such a problem, but
I think it is.
Why not? Because they're watching mainstream media that doesn't cover this. And so the idea of busing these people, well, I love taking them to oh gosh, where is
Martha's
it?
Vineyard.
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
Only 50 of them. Obama
Oh,
could
and
have had them
immediately removed. Immediately removed.
Yeah, I mean
Immediately.
the hypocrisy of these people is so thick you can slice it, and you're right. I mean, if you really want to know what these people are doing, you just look at what they're accusing the right wing of doing, because it's
Indeed.
all projection.
It is.
And but you're right though, people need to feel it, people need to see it, because all you need are two eyes and an IQ above 50 and a view of the border to know there's something wrong here, and it must be deliberate. And why would you vote for the administration that is allowing this to happen?
No, absolutely.
Oh, because Trump is a Nazi and he's really icky. And,
Yeah. No.
you're going to be. I learned a lot of things doing animal rescue. And I know people that cannot set foot in the shelter because if they make eye contact with a kitten, they're going to have to take them.
Yeah.
And so it's best they don't go in the shelter. Me, I had to go in there and go, well, that one's got goopy eyes. That one's got a cough. These are the ones that have the best chance. And you don't take them all, because if you take them all, you can't take care of all of them and they all die. It's the hard truth of life. And we have people that are not willing to face the basics of life and justice.
Yeah. And we're also run by a lot of people who are not paying the price for these decisions. They live in a gated community. So why would they worry about the homeless encampment? They're living in a gated community. So, all right.
The guy during the Summer of Love, this was so perfect, and nobody learned from it. He's going right on, yeah, and he's cheering Antifa, and then they came to his neighborhood, and he freaked out.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell.
Well, we're seeing, look, I wonder what's going to happen at the Democratic convention, because I think they're going to think about moving it out of Chicago. Because you see, this is all the same ball of wax, right? You've got the anti-Israel protests, and often they're the anti-Semitic protests. Let's be brutally honest. And they're the same tactics as the Antifa in the summer of 2020. And, it's all the same ball of wax and the same sponsors. I mean, like, take a look at the Ford Foundation and George Soros, and everybody's a whack job who mentions George Soros. You're not a whack job. Have you noticed that these tents at these schools, where, by the way, they're locking, all the tents look the same. They're all new. This is all funded and paid for. And even the mayor of New York said, this is funded. These are professional agitators. So, anyway.
Checks from somebody like Soros.
All right. Listen, I want to go off into more stupid topics, because I feel like we're weighing things down. I want to get into some stupidity here. Now, here's what we're going to do. First I want to read a very stupid news story, just to let everybody know how fortunate they are and how much some people have. Late Sandals Resorts founder's son, allegedly waiting for dad's beneficiaries to die to avoid paying them. The head of Sandals Resorts empire is allegedly delaying payouts of millions of dollars his late father left for 9 people because he's waiting for them to die, a source told the Post. Billionaire Gordon Butch Stewart, a father of 8, died of cancer January 2021 in Miami. Now his son, obviously a spoiled brat, Adam Stewart, executive chairman of Sandals Resorts International, is delaying payments of between $2.5 to $20 million to each of the remaining beneficiaries as he is waiting for the 7 others to die, a source close to the family says. I just love trust fund babies, Susan. There's just something so special, so special. Can you imagine? I'm just going to wait for them to die so I don't have to pay them.
And there's no legal injunctions that they can get.
Oh, I think there's going to be.
He's admitted it.
I think that there's going to be because evidently they're going to have some kind of a legal action in the Bahamas. I had no idea that there was legal action in the Bahamas. I didn't even know the Bahamas had cops, but but they're going to go there.
So, I don't know. I was made aware of Sandals when I was in Jamaica, which was in like 1987, and I got a really bad vibe.
Yeah.
From the way the locals were treated, and I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that there are some heartless and soulless people behind this corporation.
All right. Now, Susan, I don't know if you have anybody in mind this week, but I like to finish the show now with a new segment, and I'm going to play the jingle. So wait for the jingle. And then I'm going to give you my first choice for this week's Tribute to Stupidity. Tribute to Stupidity. Yay! All right, there's the little jingle, and I'm going to start off with the Tribute to Stupidity. This week's Tribute to Stupidity is Sunny Hostin from an unwatchable show called The View, which I only see The View in bits and pieces, like in news items, because I cannot bear to watch it. Sunny Hostin says there's more to the story of what basketball player Caitlin Clark has accomplished here. She says, Sunny says, I do think that there's a thing called pretty privilege, Hostin said on this week's View. There's a thing called white privilege. There's a thing called tall privilege. We have to acknowledge that. Now, obviously, Clark is evidently the all-time leading collegiate basketball scorer in women's basketball. She's obviously a very accomplished person, but Hostin says, I do think she's more relatable to people because she's white and because she's attractive. Unfortunately, there is still that stigma against the LGBTQ plus community, Sunny Hostin says. 70% of the WNBA is black. A third of the players are in the LGBTQ plus community. We have to do something about that stigma in this country. I think that people have a problem with basketball playing women that are lesbians. Sunny Hostin, you are truly the stupidest person of the week.
And this is trying to legislate, or it's human nature, you know.
She's a good basketball player. What the hell's it? Who the hell cares?
And you know, how big is the following for women's basketball? Unfortunately, probably not big enough. But you're not going to change people. You can't.
I just love.
You can't.
But Susan, it's tall privilege. It's pretty privilege. It's white. It's white privilege. It's white
No, that
privilege.
doesn't work in basketball.
Susan, I think it's tall
It,
privilege. I don't think you can handle.
probably, yeah.
You know what I think?
Well, look at the jockeys.
I
That's
think
short privilege.
short privilege, because what horse is
Yeah.
going to want me on its back? Are you freaking kidding me? The horse would see me, he'd be like, "Get the fuck out of here. Are you out of your mind?" All right. Well, anyway,
Well,
Sonny Hostin, tribute to stupidity. Sonny Hostin, Ewan.
feelings have nothing to do with it. It's fat shaming not to let larger people go be jockeys.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's certain laws of nature, and they really they can't be broken.
Well,
There's gravity.
I am definitely a flaw of nature. Now, Susan, have you got anybody you'd like to offer up for this week's tribute to stupidity? And if so, I'll play the jingle.
Well, okay, yes, I do.
All right. Well, it's time for tribute to stupidity. Tribute to stupidity. All right, Susan, what do you got?
Well, this kind of goes along with the not so untrue myth that stupid people hang together and learn from each other, because my pick is Joy Behar, who is
Very
also
nice.
on that unwatchable show.
Very nice. Very nice.
I really can't watch.
What rock did they find her under? What rock did they find her under? I don't get it.
Because there were so many choices, but a lot of the people that I might have chosen aren't so much stupid as they are really, really badly informed, and they're lazy. They don't do
There's
any
a fine
research,
line.
still,
There's a fine line between stupid and badly informed. You know what I'm saying?
because I mean, we've seen a lot of stupid coming out of the mouths of professors
Oh,
who
absolutely.
we know, got through college and
Yeah,
whatnot.
absolutely.
But this woman, I haven't seen her ever show any signs of having an even normal intellect.
No, and never a
Um,
normal response to anything, evidently. I think, by the way, Sonny
no,
Hostin said to Bill Maher this week, as he came on the show, she said, you complain about the woke. I don't think you understand that woke is an African-American term. It's like, he's just talking about hard leftism. These people, they got a problem with everything. They got a goddamn
yeah,
problem with everything.
they do, because that's their only
You
arguments.
know who
They
should
don't
be
have
on that
any
show?
arguments.
Do
They don't have any facts.
you know who should be on that show? You want to know? You.
No,
You.
I couldn't do it. I could not do
You
it.
would be the best thing that ever happened. You would be
I
the
would
best thing that ever
okay.
happened to that show. I would love to watch you tear them down. It would be awesome.
Yeah, but they wouldn't let me. The network wouldn't let me
It would be so
tear
awesome.
them down.
It would be so awesome.
And I remember the days when Whoopi did have a brain, but
All right.
whatever happens when you sell your soul to the network. But Joy, for a specific reason, she was extra stupid, and not just stupid, but dangerously stupid, when she said that wearing a MAGA hat is the same as having a swastika on your hat. And I mean, these are the people that supported real Nazis in Ukraine. I mean, they don't know a Nazi when they see one. And
and by the way, they'll never point out that amidst all these anti-Semitic protests at our universities, they'll never point out, you will never see one MAGA hat. Speaking of MAGA hats, you'll never see one.
Never, never, never,
Nope.
ever.
No, you'll never see one.
And they'll never equate a certain ideology with being kind of identical to the Nazi Party.
Yeah, absolutely.
And used to work in collusion with the Nazi Party.
Yeah, no, they don't. They think, they don't get that it's all cut from the same cloth. But anyway, well, that's our tribute to stupidity. And as always, I love having Susan Olsen on the show, and we will do this again real soon. Susan, I consider you a co-host, and anytime something is on your mind, we should do another one. And thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, very good.